going hard on that game. I'm going to be pushing it like you'll never see before. But then on the other side, I'm going to be getting the comments that, oh, well, DM's a shill for Diablo Immortal. Well, the same people that say that are the same people that are going to leave the comments in here making up some stupid bullshit theory about why I no longer like the game instead of listening to the entire video I
Harvest Snaps are uniquely crunchified and irresistibly taste-tastic. Snap up the goodness.
My love handles just started shrinking. My shoulders started to bulk up a little bit. My stomach started to slim down. Like I have.
Hey everybody, it's Lizzie Hale here from the band Hailstorm, and I want to dig in to one of my favorite songs off of our new album, Back from the Dead. This is The Steeple. The Steeple was written really to recreate that sanctuary, that community, that communion, that celebration that we feel every time that we go to a live show. And just trying to depict the physical feeling of that cloud being lifted as soon as your favorite song starts in order to get
Stream live TV from 85 plus channels and save up to 5.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Force here, and today we're going to be taking a early and navigating all sorts of threats like holy warriors, deadly creatures out in the wilderness, vampire hunters, the sun itself is a danger to be avoided, garlic, and should you be into PvP, you can fight other vampire players as well if you pick the proper server. There are mechanics in the game that have you sucking the blood of NPCs, and then depending on the blood type and the quality, you are granted a variety of special buffs. You'll spend a lot of time building up your very own vampire castle, this like large cathedral structure, really, really cool setting. And then also just venturing out into the wilderness, taking on enemy camps and hunting down bosses that reward you with new skills and abilities and play directly into the primary form of progression. So I've spent the past 3 or so days now playing with some friends. We managed to do and see quite a lot of the game, and I'll be showing some of that to you here today. And a special thanks to Sunlock Studios for not only letting me check out the game, but also allowing me to show some of it to you early before the official release. Very happy about that because I've been looking forward to V Rising since it was announced. I'm a fan of their prior games. I enjoyed playing both of their prior games, and I'm excited about this new twist. They're moving away from just like this PvP focus into a more sprawling open world survival game, like I mentioned, but also in a lot of ways like an RPG. There's a lot of like building up gear and you know, skills and all sorts of stuff. But anyways, let's jump into the game. So the very first task that you have is to pick your server. Now these are broken up into 3 main categories. There are PvE servers, PvP servers, and then also hardcore PvP servers. Now I will touch on some of the specific differences in a little bit, but I'm sure you get the gist here. And then it's on to character creation. You are able to pick the face, attacks, heals, pushes, to aim your shots enemies with your new weapon. You do that within this game. Okay, so you go about collecting the hides and crafting your last 2 pieces of bone guard gear, and then your quest has you make some more stuff like bone axes to cut down trees and a mace to smash rocks. And with that, plus any of the materials that you've gathered along this time, you then begin the process of building the start of your very first castle. And the castle construction and interacting with the castle is a major component of this game. If I were to guess, I would say in total of all the hours that I've played over the past 3 days, probably spend about 50% of my time building or in my castle, managing, adding to it. Like spending time in the castle and building it up and making use of it is a big part of V Rising. You be certain of it. Now your very first step in building the castle is to place down a castle heart. This is essentially the power source, and it is fueled by putting blood into the heart. And then you must expand your borders, construct some walls, put out a coffin, which is your respawn point. You've got a wooden stash for storage. You construct a sawmill, which will be used to refine wood into lumber, which can then be used for other things. You've got your simple workbench, which is for crafting better items. And then after gathering some materials, making some better weapons and gear at your workbench, and increasing your power level, you are asked to make a blood altar. And I would say that this is where it becomes clear in this game, at least to me it became clear, kind of how expansive and things really opened up here. So when you make the blood altar, it gives you a list of every major boss in this game. And I want to say it's something like 37 or so. I know it's north of 35 different bosses. And bosses aren't just difficult enemies for you to fight and get some good loot or whatever. They are actually directly tied into how you progress forward and advance your character. And again, like I said, this is where things really open up. Now, you do have a suggested progression path, but the way you approach it and how quickly you go about it or how much you just explore is really largely up to you. You've got the basis of your castle, and then you can just go out into the world, start exploring, discovering new areas, finding and fighting different bosses, which in turn unlock skills, and kind of do it at your own pace. There are goals and objectives, and you need to get this to make the next thing, and that whole back and forth process. But it's just really cool once you get the basis of your castle, you just start going out and collecting things, and you can just do so naturally in a lot of ways. Within some parameters though, because again, in order to progress your gear and get a higher power level to fight the more difficult enemies, you are still going to have to go along that path. But there's some flexibility, and that's what I like about these early stages. Now, as I mentioned, when you're out in the world and going through these places and checking out these camps, you're also going to find some bosses, and there are a significant number of bosses in the world. Like I said, there's definitely over 35 from what I could see, and finding and killing them unlocks brand new skills, but also things like new crafting stations, recipes, and just a lot of vital stuff. And this is where a lot of your skill progression comes in. Every single boss has a certain ability that they will grant you once you kill them. They will be from one of several magic schools. There's Blood, Unholy, Illusion, Chaos, and Frost. cost. And these consist of different types of abilities, active abilities, movement skills, and ultimates. And there's a whole huge variety of things. Most bosses that you kill will give you 1, sometimes 2 new skills to equip. There are also vampire skills that are separate from like the magic, active, and ultimate and movement skills. Things like the ability to turn into a wolf, which, speaking of which, let's talk about the first boss. The very first boss that we fought was the Alpha Wolf. It was found in the Wolf Den. It had this lunge attack, could summon up some wolf companions, and it was a fairly simple fight. It is the lowest level boss, and as such, it was the simplest fight. And the reward for killing the Alpha Wolf was unlocking wolf form, which lets you turn into a wolf and get some increased movement speed. The second boss we came across was Errol the Stonebreaker. He was found in the copper mines. He had some strong melee attacks, the ability to whirlwind, but also multiple chaos abilities like a shockwave in a single direction, and then occasionally he had this omnidirectional shockwave, which was a little more of a pain to deal with. Killing him rewarded the ability Aftershock, which deals, it's basically his linear shockwave. It deals magic damage in a straight line and also inflicts burning. So there's a lot of bosses in the game, and it feels so rewarding to fight them because you're not just getting like a new piece of gear that you might eventually replace, but you're getting a new ability which you can use at any time, and it's because of that it feels so rewarding. One note about the bosses as well is they do have set spawn locations, but they can also be found randomly roaming the world. Some of the bosses that I killed and got their spells, got their unlocks, were just walking paths out in the wilderness, like they weren't at their spawn location. So it seems like there are a multitude of ways to encounter these bosses, which I think is a pretty neat approach that they've taken. Besides coming across bosses, something else that you're going to encounter are these events. For one, there is a day-night cycle. So nighttime makes up, I would say, it's over 50% of the overall playtime. But during daytime, you have to be very careful to make sure that you're staying in the shadows, because after too long exposed to the sun, you just burst into flames and start losing health very, very quickly. Now, as I mentioned, there is gear as well as items out there that can help offset this, but at least in the early experience, dealing with the sun was a serious thing. So the day-night cycle is something to consider. There would be times where we would have a boss that we were considering fighting, but it was about to turn to day and they were out wide in the open, and we decided to just do something else, wait till night, and then come back later. I mean, it's a serious thing. It's not just brushing off some minuscule damage. Getting caught in the sun is a pretty big deal. There are also other events, like sometimes at night there would be a blood moon. This would increase the blood type that you currently have active by 20%, a nice boost, but also gives a 10% movement speed boost. We found this eruption event where this chaos magic started erupting from the ground, and this happened when we were in a confined location. We were in these caves, and then all of a sudden chaos magic just started exploding everywhere, and it was just crazy. That plus like we came across multiple bosses. Tier 3 increases the amount of healing you receive, as well as giving multiple types of servers. You can just play on a PvE server, at which point you cannot do damage to any other vampire players. You also yourself will not take damage from other vampire players. On top of that, players cannot attack castles, nor can they take the loot from any corpse bags when a player dies. Now, on the PvP servers, you can do damage to other vampires as well as damage their castle, but you cannot destroy their castles, and you can loot some of the items on their corpse, but you will not be able to take all of the items on their corpse. And then there are the merciless PvP servers, or the hardcore PvP servers. You can damage vampires, you can completely destroy their castles, and you can loot all of the items from a player's corpse bag. So are those multiple tiers, and if you want a PvP, that experience is here. A hardcore survival PvP experience is here. But if you just want to kind of play casual, progressing through PvE, getting better gear, building up your castle, and not worrying about players sieging your your castle, you can totally do that. Now on the PvP side of things, there's some pretty cool things to consider here. For one, it does seem like gear is balanced for PvP, meaning that it doesn't really matter how high your gear score is when it comes to PvP as much as it does for PvE. However, there are still benefits, of course, because whatever bonuses that you have on your gear is going to come into effect, or any additional skills you have. For example, on the low tier weapons start off with only a basic attack and 1 skill, and then mid tier have 2 skills, and the higher tier have 3 skills. So obviously if you're fighting someone with low tier weapons and you have high tier weapons, you have the benefit of having those extra skills. But in terms of the damage you deal and receive, it looks like gear is normalized across the board. And castle sieges are something that I haven't dove into a bit myself, but my friends have. And the time that I was making this video, they kept playing and did the castle sieges, and they told me about it, and it sounds really, really cool. So there is raiding on those PvP servers, and specifically on the hardcore or merciless PvP servers. You're able to attack other players' castles, but only within a set time frame, so that people aren't getting offline. You will know that there is a set 6-hour window. It looked, according to us on our server, between the hours of 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. local server time is when castle sieging was open for anyone to do. Now on the hardcore servers, as we mentioned, you can destroy castles and take their stuff. On the softcore servers, you're restricted to only taking some stuff and not fully destroying their castles. Now the way raiding works out is like this. It starts off with the team looking to do some raiding, building a summoning stone that then summons up a monster which has this ramp up time that tells everyone on the map that it's on the way to commit a raid to siege a castle. And then after 5 minutes, apparently you can take control of this monster and start breaching the castle. And if you breach the first door, then the whole castle is weakened and anyone can damage any of the surrounding structures' stone walls. And they say that you had 10 minutes to finish the breach before they were able to repair it. So it's a pretty cool system for people who are looking for a more hardcore PvP experience. I feel like going onto that sort of a server, you're basically going to want to be in a full clan of 4 people, because otherwise you're probably just going to get screwed. If nothing else, working with people helps to accelerate the speed at which you can siege people, but also defend against sieges and power up your gear. I like solo playing these kind of games. I don't think I would do it on a hardcore PvP server. It seems like it'd just be way too stressful. And that about does it for this video. I wanted to give you guys a broad overview of a lot of what we've seen in this game over the past few days. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. This is coming out and launching on Steam on May 17th. I gotta say, these first few days I've enjoyed a lot more. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I knew I would have fun with the combat. I did not realize it was going to be such a in-depth kind of hardcore survival crafting game. I did not quite expect that. I think I knew it, but I didn't expect it to be to the level that it was. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed it. If I wasn't going away for this weekend, I would probably still be playing this every single day. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the launch. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see